معرفة.
Let us now understand the valuation of Sukuk. So Sukuk valuation is a process of determining the fair price or value of a Sukuk. Now calculating the cash flow involves the present value of the Sukuk's future profit payments and its face value, meaning to say the par value at maturity. Now an investor determination of the required rate of return for a worthwhile investment, how we do the valuation of a Sukuk, right? The valuation necessity for discovering the true worth of any security for investment and performance estimation. Now, conventional securities also require valuation processes. Now, valuation processes reduces a financial contract to cash flows, analyzing whether the payoffs are fixed or variable, right, growing or stochastic. Now, discount rate application helps find the present value of promised payoffs. Fixed cash flow Sukuk valuation such as Ijara Sukuk includes periodic payments and principal payment at maturity. So in an Ijara Sukuk you have a periodic payment, right, which generally is 2 years in 6 monthly, right. Now informed decisions are aided by the valuation framework when trading Sukuk in the secondary market. Let us discuss about the tradability of Sukuk. This becomes a very important feature because if the Sukuk is non-tradable and it is being still traded, it becomes a non-compliant instrument. And so it is very important to understand the tradability aspect of a Sukuk. Why the tradability issue becomes important is that because you see at the end of the day, the Sukuk which is being traded on an exchange, what does the Sukuk represent? Right? From a Sharia perspective, the Sukuk should not represent in its background complete debt. So that's the main reason why the Sharia scholars from the IOF do not allow the trading of a Murabaha based Sukuk instrument. So why they feel, because behind the Sukuk of Murabaha, the only thing which is existing is an debt, meaning to say an IOU. If the debt is being traded at a premium or discount, so whatever that incremental amount is, that becomes interest or riba, and that is the reason why the scholars are concerned with regards to the tradability of the Sukuk. The issue of tradability becomes much more important when there is a combination, meaning to say if there is an Ijara and a Murabaha in the Sukuk structure. So the scholars have advised that in case if it is a Wakala Sukuk and there is a Murabaha and Ijara, so the Ijara component needs to be 51% and the Murabaha can be 49%. So for example, if the $100 were raised and with the $100 you want to structure a Sukuk, so you have to have $51 invested in a real estate asset and you can do a Murabaha for 49%. So this is what the general guidelines are as of now. That during the life of the Sukuk, it becomes the responsibility of the Wakil or the obligor to see to it that the tangibility portion, which is the 51 on the day one, does not go below 33, right? So the moment it goes below 33, then there are some serious procedures which needs to be done, meaning to say this issue needs to be taken to the Sharia board, and at the same time there is a delisting notice which needs to be given to the exchange, because the value of the tangible portion has gone below 33% of the overall pool, right? The face value of the Sukuk. So that's the reason why the guidelines is on the day one, at the inception, the tangibility portion keep it for 51, the intangible portion or the debt portion keep it 49. During the life of the Sukuk, please monitor and see to the tangibility portion does not go below 33. Now the simple question could be that why 33? Why not 23? Why not 15? Right? Why not 43? What is the whole rationale of this magic number 33? So basically the scholars had taken this rationale from Islamic law perspectives. When laws are derived, ratio decidendi or the rationale, right, is basically taken from the primary sources and also from the secondary sources. So the primary sources for Islamic law are the Quran and the Sunnah. Sunnah meaning the Prophet's teachings and the Prophet's sayings and the Prophet tacit approvals. All this combined together becomes hadith, right? So there's a huge literature which of this hadith which are used to derive certain principles or laws. So this principle of 1/3 has been derived from one of the hadiths of the Prophet. Hadith was narrated by Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas. So let's look at the hadith, right, from where this 1/3 rationale was derived. So let me just narrate the hadith to you. So the hadith goes this way. I said, O Allah's messenger, I have wealth and no one to inherit from me except my one daughter. Shall I give 2/3 of my property as sadaqah? Right? So let us understand. So there was a companion of the Prophet, and the companion of the Prophet was sick and ill, and the Prophet went to visit him, and the companion of the Prophet said that, look, except my one daughter, I do not have other siblings, and what I would like to do is that I want to give my property as sadaqah, as charity, okay, in the name of Islam. So he said that I shall give 2/3 of my property as sadaqah. Prophet said, no, I do not accept the 2/3 property. Then the companion said, shall I give half of it as sadaqah? Meaning to say, shall I give half of my property to charity? So Prophet said, again he replied, no, I will not even advise you to do this, and I will not accept you do this. Then he said that, shall I give 1/3 of it as sadaqah? Then he said, okay, if not 2/3, if not half, can I give at least 1/3 as charity? Because I want to give it to charity so that it could benefit me. So at this stage, Prophet said, you may give 1/3 as sadaqah, which is still a lot, right? So meaning to say, the Prophet said, okay, 1/3 of your property you can give. And then Prophet concluded and said, I do not want to leave your heirs, okay, in such a condition, right, where they are poor and begging from people. Meaning to say, Prophet was concerned that if you give all your property in charity, or meaning to say, if you give 2/3 of your property, if you give half of your property, then the remaining property for your daughter would be less, right? So he said that I do not advise you giving all and then your child suffers when you are no more. 1/3 is okay, but still it is a lot. So this 1/3 magic number was derived from this hadith, and then the scholars had applied at many levels to understand what is a majority and what is the minority in a pool. So it was also applied in terms of purity of water. If the water gets dirty, how you can say that the water is pure and things like that. So this was also applied on the commercial transactions. So it said that at least 1/3 needs to be good or valid. So this principle was derived from there, and then it was applied by scholars even in commercial transactions. So now this 1/3 rule is also applied in case of the tangibility. So meaning to say, if there is a pool, and if in that pool, if at least 1/3 is tangible, then it remains Sharia compliant. But if even that 1/3 is breached and it goes below 1/3, then it becomes non-compliant. So this was the rationale behind deriving this 1/3 formula. So just to conclude, tangibility is very important because it impacts tradability. Tradability is a very important aspect of Sukuk, because without tradability there is no uniqueness in Sukuk. That's the reason why it becomes very important to understand the concept of tradability, and at the same time, because this tradability can make a Sukuk instrument compliant and non-compliant. So that's the reason why you have to understand the basic concept and rationale of tradability.
معرفة